Reporters filled the room for a historic news conference that would change insurance fraud fighting as we know it. The year was 1993. The city was Washington, D.C. The venue, the historic National Press Club. With news cameras rolling, the new Coalition Against Insurance Fraud was unveiled. This was the first time that insurers, consumers, and government officials had ever joined forces to combat this multi-billion-dollar-a-year crime wave. The coalition was the only group of its kind. Just as important, it would combat all forms of insurance fraud, and barely in time. Fraud was out of control. There was no end in sight. Crimes were driving up premiums for consumers around the nation. The coalition's new executive director spoke of the coalition's daring mission to help unify the fraud fight. America said hello to Dennis J. He would help guide the coalition to a new national leadership role for the next 26 years. Just 16 member organizations made up the coalition at its birth. They took a big risk, and it paid off. More than 200 members belong to the organization today. And through it all, Dennis remained just what the coalition needed to advance its mission and develop effective strategies with volunteer leaders. Creative programming and dedication to fulfilling key objectives led to success after success. Best of all, Dennis was always true to his conscience. It doesn't matter if you're a consumer group or with the insurance industry. His only measure is whether an idea makes the fraud fight a better one. That's good medicine, because the early years were tough ones. The organization's existence was on the line. First, the coalition survived. Then, we thrived with Dennis at the helm. In one of its first big moves, the coalition took the fraud fight directly to the state capitals. No one knew who or what the coalition was at first. Some were suspicious. But it didn't take long for legislators to come to know us well, and more importantly, to trust us. Hundreds of fraud laws were enacted around the U.S. They're a tough dose of justice. No one will know how many thousands of fraudsters have been convicted thanks to the coalition's government affairs efforts. The U.S. Congress also held hearings on the fraud fight, wanting to know the severity of fraud and how best to combat it. Both the Senate and the House called on Dennis as a national authority who could speak widely across all lines of insurance.
Important issue that virtually affects every consumer and business in America.
He took the mic and gave a candid rundown, strengths and weaknesses, and most of all, smart public policy ideas for taking more fraudsters off the streets. The coalition took off as a national power in public awareness as well. Messaging became relentless. All Americans pay for insurance fraud. Every day, we're working to reverse the popular belief that fraud is an easy crime and easy money, and a victimless crime. News reporters seek us out for the latest trends. We speak as a united voice. Over the years, coalition anti-fraud messages have been cited in more than 10,000 news articles. Our social media presence gives consumers insightful videos and infographics. Dennis also initiated the coalition's research program to help the fraud-fighting community better understand this crime. The coalition has studied everything from fraud bureaus to technology, to consumer attitudes to life insurance. The results have provided a rich trove of data and insights. Most important, our studies point out specific ways to reach the next level of fraud fighting. And with healthcare dominating the fraud landscape dollar for dollar, Dennis was instrumental in creating the Healthcare Fraud Prevention Partnership. It's a groundbreaking new way for the public and private sectors to go after health crimes jointly. It's yet another unifying moment among many for the coalition. This partnership has saved America hundreds of millions of dollars. Internationally, he also has been in demand. Governments and anti-fraud organizations in a dozen countries have benefited from Dennis's hands-on advice and his sharing of America's success in combating fraud. Through it all, Dennis has been true to the mission of the coalition, always willing to put the issue of insurance fraud first, caring little whether he gets the credit or basks in the spotlight. So now, Dennis heads into retirement. His fraud work is done after nearly 27 years. Whether on land or sea, let Dennis and Julia be inspired by the words of Mark Twain, the same way Dennis has inspired others. Throw off the bow lines, sail away from the safe harbor, catch the trade wind in your sails, explore, dream, discover.